friends, and thanks for joining me again. And I want to share with you my top 10 favorite first-time home buyer tips. And this is actually a result of a viewer question that I got a little while ago where somebody asked, hey, do you have any first-time home buyer tips? So I compiled my favorite list of the top 10 that I think that either the first-time home buyers really need to take, into consideration, things that we need to think about. So let's get into it. Step 1 is to assess your credit score and your savings. So before you get started doing anything, looking at houses, doing anything, the first thing we have to do is find out what our credit score is. You can go to any one of the major 3 credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, and then check your credit report. You can actually do this once a year for free, and you can get your credit score and make sure that you will qualify for a loan. The amount of money that you have saved and your credit score is what's going to determine what type of loan that you can get. So this is very important to do first before we do anything. Step 2 is to choose the type of mortgage that you can qualify for based on the amount of money that you have saved and your credit score. So the first type of mortgage would be a manual underwriting mortgage. You don't actually check your credit at all, so you can have as low as a 0 credit score and they will accept it. The problem is you do usually have to have 20% down, and because these are high-risk loans, they don't come with any kind of perks, and they usually come with higher interest rates. So that would be the first one. The second one would be a USDA loan. A lot of different USDA loan products out there exist, but some of them can go for as low as 0 down, and USDA requires only a 580 credit score. So a 580 credit score and 0 down. The problem and the drawbacks with this one would be that they almost always are rural properties. So if you wanted to live in a city or somewhere, more urban, these types of loans won't apply. So just keep that in mind. The next type of loan would be a VA loan. Again, these come with 0 down, but they do require a little bit higher of a credit score. They usually require about a 640 credit score. But again, the main drawback to this one would be that as a VA loan, they do require you to be a veteran. The next would be an FHA loan. These come with as low as 3.5% down with a 580 credit score. If you have a lower credit score, you will have to put more money down. But the main drawback to this particular type of loan is that they require private mortgage insurance, which is an extra charge. So it will make your monthly payment higher, and that's for the life of the loan. So yeah, just like all things, these ones have, their drawbacks as well. And the last one would be a conventional loan. Conventional loans start with as little as 5% down. And honestly, most of the people who qualify for conventional loans are what they call premium buyers. And so we can qualify for things that are, some perks that, don't come with some of the other types of loans. So you can get lower interest rates. You can get a lot of paid closing costs with this particular type of loan. If you remember from my video where I talked about the closing costs that we paid for ours, we did a conventional loan with 20% down, and we were able to qualify through a lender that paid all of the closing costs. So these types of loans do exist, so just keep that in mind. So now that you have, an idea in mind of what kind of loan you qualify for based on what you're looking for, how much money you have down, and what your credit score is, it's time to move on to step 3. Step 3 would be to fix your credit or add money to your savings if you need to. So once you've checked your credit score and you've checked your savings and you don't qualify for the type of mortgage that you are hoping for, you may have to fix these things. If you don't and you already qualify for those, the loan that you're hoping to look for, you can totally skip this step. If you need to save some more money, my first recommendation would be to just live as frugally as you can to save as much money as you possibly can. And obviously have a budget in place, so that you're not overspending, you're saving first and then spending what's left over, not the other way around, so that we can achieve our savings goals a lot quicker. Step 4 would be to shop for your mortgage lender. I think this is probably one of the most overlooked steps of all of the process, and I feel like it's probably the most important because taking the time to shop for your mortgage lender can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars up front when you go to buy your house and over time with your monthly mortgage payments. So definitely don't skip this step. I've devoted an entire video on how to shop for mortgages, and so I will go ahead and link that, off to the side there, and it's just a list of questions that you ask, and it makes it so much easier when you go to shop for your mortgage. You write down your questions, and then when you call this lender, you just ask all the questions. You call the next lender, you ask all the questions, and then you can actually get a good apples to apples comparison on the type of mortgage that you're looking for to make sure that you're getting one that best meets your needs. Step 5 would be to gather all of your paperwork. Now this step can be done after, and with the other steps, but this is definitely something you're going to want to do. Get all of your recent pay stubs, get your bank statements together, find your last 2 years of tax returns, because when you go to apply for your loan, the lender is going to ask for all of this information, and so we might as well have it all ready so that we can deliver it to the lender when they need this information. So be gathering all of your paperwork so that you'll have all your ducks in a row. Step 6 would be to compile a list of your wants and needs, or you could compile it a have or a nice to have. The things that you want to have, these are important to make sure that you tell your real estate agent when you start working with one, to make sure that you're not going to waste your time looking at properties that aren't going to fit for you. And it's also going to help minimize distractions, if you need in a certain area and then you go to look in the housing market and there's these beautiful houses that have all these wonderful features, but they're just not in the right area. It's easy to get distracted with that and wonder if it might work for us, when in reality, if we realize that that area just doesn't work for us no matter what the features are. So it's really important to put together a list of haves, or you have to have in this house and would like to have, and then be somewhat flexible on the like to haves, of course, because there's no such thing as a perfect house. Step 7 would be to start looking online at the different houses that are available, but keep in mind that you will eventually want to start working with a realtor. But it really is important to start looking online to kind of get a feel for what the houses look like in the area, what you can actually get with the amount that you're approved for. But again, you will want to make sure that you're working with a realtor because they have experience that can help you. And when you're working with a buyer's agent, which is what you'll be working with as a first-time home buyer, that doesn't actually cost you any money usually. If they are telling you that they're going to charge you, you probably need to find a new realtor. But a buyer's agent is free for you, and so it's definitely important. And I highly recommend having an advocate on your side working with you to help make sure that you're finding what you're really looking for and going to help make it to where you get the right deal. Don't be shy about going and meeting agents even before you're ready. If you're thinking about buying in the future, you may even want to start meeting with real estate agents now. Sometimes they won't want to give you, the time to work with you. However, some will. And so, yeah, they can help give you some information, some valuable information that will help you so that you can better prepare yourself later when you are ready to go ahead and buy. So your first showing of the houses that you're going to be looking at is online. So they usually have pictures, you can go look through them. And so this kind of does count as your first showing in a way. But do keep in mind that when you go to look at the properties, sometimes they are different than the way that they look in the pictures. And so sometimes the pictures can look beautiful and then you get there and you're like, eh. Or it could be the other way around. You may look at the house and think, this one doesn't look all that great, but in person it looks a whole lot better. So do keep in mind that while your first showing, again, is online, don't discount different houses based on the pictures. Go ahead and keep the best open mind that you can to make sure that you're exposing yourself to all the different properties out there so that you can really spot the one that's for you when it comes along. Make sure you consider resale value, the neighborhood, the style of the house, proximity to schools and shopping. All of these things are not only going to make a difference when you go to sell. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive to be thinking about selling your house when you're just now buying it, but eventually you probably might end up selling it, and so you want to make sure that it's going to appeal to the other buyers at that time, but it's also going to make a big difference in how happy you are in the house while you're living there. So definitely keep in mind these types of things, and keeping these things in mind when you're shopping for your house, even if you don't have any kids now, you may want to consider what kinds of schools there are in the area so that when you do maybe start a family, you don't have to move just to get into a better school district. So this is probably one of the most common first-time homebuyer mistakes. Step number 7 would be to consider all of the expenses that come with home ownership. Do keep in mind that renting is entirely different than owning a home, and so if you're going from renting to being a homeowner, which is what most first-time home buyers do, you definitely need to keep in mind that the price, if your rent is the same as your mortgage, you might end up in trouble because a lot of the expenses that you maybe aren't covering right now in your rent, you're going to have to come up with as a home buyer. So definitely keep that in mind. Keep in mind all of the different expenses that come along with home ownership. Step number 9 would be to forget the purchase price. I know this sounds really crazy, but seriously, it's true. Forget what the purchase price is and look at the monthly payment, because the purchase price is something that you sort of look at when you're going to figure out which house you want to buy. It shows up on a piece of paper when you sign for it on the day when you close, but that's it. That's pretty much the only time the purchase price is ever, an important factor. The thing that you're really going to live with, however, is the monthly payment. That's going to come up every single month until you either pay it off or you sell the house. So you definitely want to keep more in mind how much the house is going to cost. Many times home buyers will look at how much the lender says that they are qualified for, and they'll look down the page and then find out how much that payment would be and think, oh my gosh, I don't think I can afford that much. And you know what? I honestly agree with that. They let you borrow up to 36% of your gross income. And when it comes down to it, after taxes, this could be as much as 45% of what your take-home pay is. And so it can be a big-time home buyer trap to end up in a house that you really can't afford to live in, especially when you consider that it's now home ownership, and so there's going to be other expenses that are going to be coming up. So look at that monthly payment. Make sure even when you're shopping at the different houses, because there are different house, tax districts, there are different, utility costs and things like that. Try your best to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples and looking at what the monthly payment is going to be with your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, which is what a mortgage payment is usually comprised of. They call it PITI. And then make sure that that is a number that you're comfortable with, because if it's not, if you feel like it's above what you're comfortable with, you might be setting yourself up for failure, and I really don't want that to happen to you. So again, forget the purchase price and focus on the monthly payment. And then step 10 is to work with a good agent. This is very, very critical. Be sure you're choosing a good agent so that they can be an advocate for you, so that they can make sure that they're guiding you in this whole home buying process. And working with the right agent can help you sell for more. When you go to sell later, they can help you buy your house for less. And just make sure that the whole real estate transaction is the least, amount of hassle, or has the least amount of hassle it can possibly have. And to make the whole transaction just go as smoothly as possible. Especially in areas where prices are rising and inventory is tight, having the right agent can be the difference between getting the property and not getting the property. So again, this is important. I saved this one for last because it really is very important. Make sure you're choosing the right real estate agent. On that same note, if you're looking for a real estate agent here in the northern Colorado area, I would love to help you. You can email me directly at stani7@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to help you find a house in the area. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.